Today, we're diving into the really powerful story of a dog named Luna. It's a journey that, starts with a pretty tough diagnosis and a frustrating search for answers, but it ends with a breakthrough that shows just how incredible the right nutrition can be. This is a story all about finding hope, even when you're up against a really complex illness.
Okay, so we're actually going to start at the end of the story with this quote from Luna's owner, Nick. This is that happy outcome they fought so hard to get to. But believe me, getting here was a real challenge, and understanding that journey, well, that's what this is all about. So how did they pull this off?
All right, let's rewind and go back to the beginning. Let's meet Luna and her owner, Nick. Their story starts the way a lot of these stressful vet journeys do, with a really worrying symptom. Luna started having severe, persistent diarrhea, which was a huge red flag that something was seriously wrong.
So, after a whole bunch of tests, the vets finally zeroed in on the likely culprit, protein-losing enteropathy, or PLE. Now, what is that? Well, to put it simply, it's a condition where a dog's intestines basically get leaky. So instead of absorbing all the good proteins from their food, those vital nutrients just seep right out of the body. It's a really serious thing that needs very careful management.
For Nick, you can imagine, getting to this diagnosis was a super stressful process of elimination. First, there were the severe symptoms that sent them to the vet in the first place. Then came all the tests to rule out other, more common issues, which is just a horrible waiting game for any pet owner. And finally, with everything else off the table, PLE was identified as the reason Luna was so sick.
So, with the diagnosis in hand, you'd think the hardest part was over, right? Nope. The next major hurdle was just getting started, finding the right food. See, managing PLE is almost entirely about diet, and for Nick and Luna, this kicked off a really difficult and frankly frustrating period of trial and error.
The vet's instructions were super specific. Luna needed a diet that was two things: extremely low in fat and made with hydrolyzed proteins. So what are hydrolyzed proteins? Basically, they're proteins that have been pre-broken down into these teeny tiny pieces. This makes them way easier for a damaged gut to absorb, and they're less likely to cause any kind of inflammation. And this table just perfectly captures the frustration Nick was dealing with. The first food the vet recommended, Luna just flat out refused to eat it. So Nick started looking into other hydrolyzed brands, but he kept running into the same problem. Their fat content was over 10%, which was way too high for a dog with PLE. He even got to the point where he was home cooking meals of fish and sweet potato, and that helped for a bit, but it's not a complete, balanced solution for the long haul.
But then, after all that searching, a breakthrough. This is the real turning point in their story. Nick's persistence finally paid off when his research led him to a food that seemed to tick every single box.
So what was the secret sauce? Why did this one work when all the others failed? Well, it hit three absolutely crucial points. First, the fat content was safely under that 10% limit. Second, the recipe was just designed to be incredibly easy to digest. And third, it provided complete and balanced nutrition, which meant no more guesswork and no more worrying about home cooking.
With that food puzzle finally solved, everything could shift to the results. And this is where the story gets really, really good. Finding the right diet didn't just help a little bit, it led to a massive, dramatic turnaround in Luna's health.
And here we are, full circle, back to Nick's words, which just say it all, don't they? This wasn't just about managing a medical condition. It was about finding a solution that Luna actually liked to eat, which is what let her finally just be a happier, healthier dog. Now this might just be the most powerful number in this entire story. 0. That's how many additional medications Luna needed once her diet was sorted out. Her very complex condition was now being managed completely through nutrition. I mean, that is just an incredible outcome.
So let's just recap this amazing success story. Her digestion got way better, her condition totally stabilized with no more flare-ups, and, so important, she finally had a food that she was excited to eat every day. It was just a complete win across the board.
But you know what? The story doesn't end there, because this one dog success story ended up having a much bigger impact. It wasn't just a win for Luna and Nick. It actually opened the door to a huge opportunity that could help so many other dogs.
So, Nick, realizing his tough journey could help other people, did something really proactive. He actually reached out to the food company and said, "Hey, I think you have a real opportunity here to help dogs with PLE," pointing out that their product, which wasn't even marketed for this, could be a lifeline for other dogs with the exact same problem.
I mean, this is such a perfect example of the power of customer feedback. You have a product that was originally made for things like weight control and joint care. But through real-world use, a customer discovered it had this vital, completely unintended purpose, being a dietary solution for a serious medical condition.
And, to their credit, the brand actually listened. The company's owner, a guy named Glenn Bell, responded directly to Nick. He confirmed that they were going to work with their experts to formally explore how this food could support dogs with PLE. It's just a fantastic example of a company not just hearing, but actually learning from its customers. And all of this brings us to one last really powerful thought. Luna's story is just an incredible reminder of how important it is to be a persistent advocate for your pet. It really makes you stop and wonder, doesn't it? How many other seemingly impossible conditions out there are just one discovery, one right food, one new idea away from becoming a happy, manageable life?